Hey y'all, required exercise 4 here. You are going to take this existing part and make a new part that fits it exactly. On the tab down here, you've got a PDF document with instructions. There are copies of them in the classroom, but the colors and resolution is much better here. So we're going to make this part, this gray part, that fits perfectly on the blue part. First step is to take the existing part and grab some of the lines off of it to work with for our new part. And then on those lines, we're going to draw something that looks like this using the tools that it instructs us to use and with a few requirements. And then we're going to add some dimensions to further define it. We will then take that sketch and mirror image it onto the other side of the part. And lastly, extrude the part up to this surface of the existing part that's already there. So the big idea here being that you're going to be able to learn how to work with existing parts and make other parts that fit on them perfectly. So we always have to start by making a sketch, and then we can do 3D things to it. Our sketch plane is going to be the plane, the top of this part. We can then select the top of the part and notice how the parts that highlight are exactly the same shape as what it says in the instructions that I need to reproduce. So that's why I'm picking that part right there and not like this part. Here, this is the part I want. So I select it, and then this tool right here, the Use tool, will project that picture onto the sketch plane so that I can use it for my drawings. So I click on it, and it did that. You just can't tell. If you come over here to part 1, that's how you can select that part. And I can click right here and I can hide it, which allows me to see underneath it. And so now I can see what I actually did was put this picture there. This is the same shape and size as that part. So if I'm working off of this image, I know that I'm working off of that part. Also, if changes are made to that part, they'll automatically be reflected on this part. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to look at it from the top and zoom out a bit. And I'm going to draw that thing right here. And I know what it looks like, so I'm going to draw it pretty quickly, but you would be referring back and forth to the document to make this easier. So I'm going to make a line. It tells me that that line needs to be in the middle of the top of this bracket. So notice as I cruise over, once I get towards the middle, that little image changes telling me that I'm at the midpoint. If I click right there, the line that I make coming off of it will be coming off the middle of that existing part, which is what I want. Right now, I'm also can see that the line I'm making is vertical. If I move way over, that'll go away. But if you're anywhere near vertical, that'll pop up telling you that if you go ahead and click, you're going to get a nice vertical line. I escape out of the line tool. It tells me that it needs to be a construction line. And this is the tool we can use to go between construction lines right here that are dotted and solid lines that are normal lines. And so I'm going to change this to select it and change it to a construction line. The difference between a construction line and a regular line is that construction lines can't be extruded. They're just there to help you position things, and that's all we're trying to do is position this circle right here and the part we're making directly in the middle of that line. So that's why it's important that it was at the middle. So now I'm going to make a circle, and it tells me that that circle needs to be coincident with this point right here. That means at the same spot. When I hover right over that point, this little T-shaped icon tells me that it is coincident. So if I click there and move away, I'll be making a circle that has its center point shared with that other point. They'll be coincident. I notice now that I'm still in construction mode, so I gotta click on that and be like, I don't want that to be a construction line. I want it to be a non-construction line, except I'm still in circle mode. So all I'm doing is making circles. Delete that circle. There. And now I get out of there. Okay, so now that's a normal solid line, and it will be able to be used to make 3D parts, which is what we're going to do with it. I'm also supposed to make an arc. a 3-point arc, which you can make multiple types of arcs, but it's asking for a 3-point arc, which is already selected. So this is also supposed to be coincident with that point, meaning that they're right on top of each other. But I'm going to show you what happens if you don't get that done right the first time. So 3-point arc, make a line, make a point, and then drag it over to where the end of your arc is going to be. And then the third drag allows you to decide how much of an arc you want. Uh-oh, I clicked off the screen. Twink, twink, click. Okay, so there's my 3-point arc, and it is supposed to be coincident with that, but see how they're not right there and right there. They're supposed to be in the same spot. So here, let me go over to my toolbar over here, and this guy right there is our coincident tool, and I can make them coincident afterwards. If you were anywhere near coincidence as you were producing it, that feature would come up, but you can always make it happen afterwards. Okay, so then I also need to make some lines. I know that there's a vertical line here, so I'm going to go ahead and make it vertical, and then a line going to the edge there. Escape out of the line tool. I'm going to select it again and do the same thing over here. Make a line that I would love to make vertical. So when that vertical icon pops up, I'm going to go ahead and go with it. And then back to the drawing. Okay. So that's pretty much the sketch I need. And then the next step is to define dimensions, which again are on the instructions. And I am going off of the instructions on the side here and pretty quickly because I've done this before. So after clicking the dimension tool, if you click on anything that's circly, you'll get the chance to define the radius. The radius of this outer arc is supposed to be 15. So I marked that in and it's like, whoa, it changes it to 0.591. Well, that's because the units of the workspace are currently set at inches, and this diagram must be based on millimeters. So I change it to millimeter and I check to say, yep, I really do want to change it to millimeter. When I click on sketch, I can double click on it and I'll be back into where I was working again. And notice how it says R15 because now it's in millimeters. Now I'm going to click on that. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click on the circle, and as I'm not in dimension anymore. Grab dimension tool again, click on the circle, and this guy's supposed to be 12. Make it 12. Other dimensions that are provided in the diagram are the distance between this point and this line here, which is also this point. So I can set that at 30, which is what it tells me to do. It is also interesting. This is also supposed to be up there. So I think that I goofed there. These guys are supposed to all be in the same line. And I'm trying to figure out how I can make that happen. Well, I can't do it in the dimension tool, that's for sure. All right, so I'll keep doing dimensions. One-chang. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to have that other thing grabbed. Okay, a dimension between this dot and that. Okay. I'm going to escape out of here because I'm having issues. Okay, dimension tool, this dot, that dot, and these guys are going to be 18 apart. I'm going to click, I need to get out of dimension tool. I'm going to click this segment here and this segment here and make them equal in length. This segment here and this segment here are supposed to be perpendicular. So I'm going to make them perpendicular. this angle here, right here, is supposed to be 45 degrees. That's not going to work. All right, in order to make that angle, I actually have to make a line here. So that close it. Okay, so now I'll be able to select the dimension tool and go between this section and this section. I would like to define dimensions, and it'll recognize that the appropriate dimension would be an angle. Oh, you're gonna yell at me, huh? There was some kind of constraint there that I didn't mean to put on it that was making that happen. Alrighty, so I got my angle in there, good. The only thing I'm supposed to have in there that I kind of messed up were these guys are all supposed to be, oh my goodness, that worked. I told those guys to be horizontal and it worked. I love this program. Okay, looks like I got it. I don't know if that was the way, I mean, I've done it 5 times now differently every single time. So if you're having struggles, let me know. All right, so next thing is to mirror this about a directly across of this object. So, and I'm running out of time. So I'm gonna hurry up. I need to make a line. And that line needs to be directly in the center. And so notice how I got that midpoint icon again. And I go straight over horizontally. And then when I get there, I should probably be at the midpoint again. And I am. So this line is totally cutting that part in half. I am going to make it into a construction line. And now I'm going to mirror this thing. Okay. Okay. So mirror tool says select a mirror line, and this is the line I want to mirror about. Select the entities to be mirrored. I could select all of these individually, but I'm just going to grab everything, and oh my gosh, look what happens. It is going to mirror that on the other side of the line I selected. So moving right along. At this point, I'm actually done with my sketch. I'm done with all my 2-dimensional drawing, and I want to, if you zoom in here, you can see all the beautiful beauty. If I select my check mark, I'm saying I'm done with this drawing. Notice when I do that, all these 3D tools pop up again. I'm going to kind of look at it from the side. So I select extrude, and I'm going to pick the parts that I want to extrude. The diagram shows me making something that looks kind of like this, although not nearly as thick. So here, as we can see, it is set to blindly extrude 25 millimeters. Instructions tell us to change it to, say, up to surface. You'll see that that is not an available option. We are going to click up to face. That must be what they changed it to. And then we have to choose the face that we want to extrude it up to. It's time for me to get part 1 back in the mix. When I show part 1 again, I see that what it's asking me to do is extrude this face up to right here, just the next lip of that part. So when I select that, it extrudes it up to that point. The default is to add it to the part, but we actually want to make a new part. So I'm going to change it to new. And so I've selected, I can see a kind of a preview of what it's going to look like, and it looks just like the example. And so I'm going to say that I'm done there. So what I get is this new part that is an exact shape of the existing part that has been extruded flush to the surface